in the quiet suburb of Willowbrook, where maple trees whispered secrets to the wind and the air carried the faint scent of rain-soaked earth, stood the old Victorian house at 47 Elm Street. It was a relic from a bygone era, its gabled roof sagging like the shoulders of an old man weary from too many winters. Inside, amid the creak of floorboards and the tick-tock of a grandfather clock that had outlived 3 generations, lived Elias Hawthorne. At 87, Elias was a man whose life had been etched in the hard lines of his face, each wrinkle a chapter from a story of triumph and loss. Elias had built his fortune not in the glittering boardrooms of the city, but in the shadowed alleys of post-war America. A jeweler by trade, he had risen from the soot-choked workshops of 1942nd Manhattan to become a master craftsman whose name evoked whispers of elegance and intrigue. His pieces, delicate filigree necklaces, rings that captured the fire of diamonds, had adorned the necks of socialites and the fingers of tycoons. But it was the gold that defined his legacy. Not just any gold, but heirloom bars, smuggled from Europe during the war, each one stamped with the Hawthorne crest, a stylized hawk clutching a laurel wreath. They weren't mere metal, they were symbols of survival, of the family fortune pieced together from the ruins of bombed-out vaults and forgotten estates. Elias kept them in a hidden safe behind a false panel in his study, a room lined with leather-bound books and faded photographs of his late wife, Margaret. She had been the light in his forge, her laughter melting the gold as surely as his torch. They had one son, Thomas, who inherited the business but none of the fire. Thomas died young, in a car accident on a rain-slicked highway, leaving behind a daughter, Sophia Hawthorne. At 25, Sophia was the spitting image of her grandmother, raven hair cascading in waves, eyes like polished emeralds, a smile that could disarm a room. But where Margaret had been kind-hearted, Sophia burned with a hunger that Elias recognized all too well, ambition untempered by patience. Sophia had grown up in the shadow of the Hawthorne name, shuttling between her mother's modest apartment in the city and Elias's sprawling estate during summers. As a child, she would perch on his workbench, her small fingers tracing the curves of molten gold as he spun tales of daring, heists and royal commissions. "This," he'd say, holding up a gleaming bar, "isn't just wealth, Sophie. It's our bloodline. It shows us to carry it forward." She would nod, wide-eyed. But even then, Elias saw the flicker, the way her gaze lingered not on the hawk crest, but on the shine that promised power. Life pulled them apart as Sophia entered adulthood. She moved to New York, chasing dreams of fashion design, her sketches vibrant with bold lines and jewel tones. But the city was a cruel teacher. Internships turned to dead ends, loans piled like autumn leaves, and the allure of quick riches whispered louder than Elias's warnings. She visited less, her calls sporadic, laced with excuses. "Grandpa, the rent's killing me. If only I had a cushion." Elias would send checks, small ones at first, then larger, but he never mentioned the safe. That was his line in the sand. It was a crisp autumn evening in 2025 when Sophia returned, unannounced, her heels clicking like impatient Morse code on the polished oak floors. Elias was in his armchair by the fireplace, a plaid blanket draped over his knees, a volume of Hemingway open on his lap, though his eyes no longer focused on the words. The bell rang, a modern chime he'd installed after Margaret's passing, and he shuffled to the door, peering through the peephole at the silhouette of his granddaughter, bundled in a wool coat against the October chill. "Sophie." His voice cracked with genuine warmth as he pulled her into a hug, her perfume a sharp citrus that clashed with the house's musty scent filling his nostrils. She smelled of the city, of ambition and asphalt. "Grandpa Elias," she said, her voice a melody of practiced affection. She stepped inside, shedding her coat like a snake's skin, revealing a sleek black dress that hugged her figure. In her hands, a bottle of his favorite scotch, single malt from the Highlands. "I missed you. It's been too long." They settled in the living room, the fire casting dancing shadows on On the walls adorned with Margaret's watercolors, Sophia poured generous measures. Clinking glasses with a toast to family legacies, Elias sipped slowly, watching her over the rim. She was thinner than he remembered, shadows under her eyes like bruises from invisible blows. She talked animatedly about her latest collection, a line of sustainable jewelry that was revolutionizing the industry. About investors, circling like vultures, but beneath the sparkle, Elias detected the strain, the way her fingers twisted the stem of her glass. As the scotch warmed their veins, the conversation turned personal. "Grandpa, you've always been so wise about money. How did you build all this?" She gestured vaguely at the room, but her eyes flicked toward the study door, ajar just enough to reveal the glint of the safe's outline in the lamplight. Elias chuckled, a dry rasp. "Patience, Sophie, and a bit of luck. The gold. It came to me during the war, hidden in a convent basement, smuggled out under the noses of the Nazis. Each bar is a story, a piece of history." Her eyes lit up, genuine for a moment. "I've always wanted to see them up close. As a designer, I mean, imagine what I could create with inspiration like that." He paused, the fire popping like a warning. "They're not for show, child. They're for the family. When I'm gone." "You're not going anywhere," she interrupted, too quickly, her hand on his arm. "But what if something happened? To you? I mean, who gets them?" Elias studied her, the lines around his mouth deepening. "You, Sophie. You're the last Hawthorne, but only if you prove worthy. Legacy isn't inherited, it's earned." She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That night, as she slept in the guest room upstairs, Elias lay awake, the weight of years pressing on his chest. He had seen greed before in partners who skimmed profits, in rivals who forged fakes. It was a poison that started as a whisper and ended in ruin. By dawn, he had made his decision. The next morning, over coffee and toast slathered with marmalade, Sophia broached the subject again. "Grandpa, I hate to ask, but I'm in a bind. My big investor pulled out last week. If I could just borrow against something, anything, I could launch the collection by spring. It would honor the Hawthorne name, I swear." Elias set down his cup, the porcelain clinking softly. "Borrow? From what?" She hesitated, then plunged in. "The gold. Just a bar or two. I know a dealer in the city, discreet, fair market. I'd pay it back with interest once the line takes off." He feigned consideration, stroking his chin. "It's risky, Sophie, but family helps family. Come to the study after breakfast." Her face bloomed like a rose in sunlight. In the study, with its scent of aged paper and beeswax polish, Elias knelt grunting with the effort before the false panel. His fingers, gnarled but steady, released the latch, revealing the safe. The dial spun under his touch, a combination born of Margaret's birthday, 7-14-52. The door swung open, and there they were, a dozen gold bars, each the size of a loaf, stacked in velvet-lined trays. They gleamed under the desk lamp, promising fortunes untold. Sophia's breath caught. "God, they're beautiful. How much?" "About 2 million, give or take," Elias murmured, lifting one with reverence. It felt solid in his palms, cool and unyielding. "Take 2, but remember, Sophie, this is a loan. Pay it back, or the rest stays locked." She nodded eagerly, her hands trembling as she accepted the bars, wrapping them in a silk scarf from her purse. "I love you, Grandpa. This means everything." But Marcus wasn't done. "One more thing. My buyer's picky wants a full assay before final payout. Lab downtown tomorrow morning. You game?" Sophia frowned. "Why not just pay? Insurance stall. These relics. Government sniff around. But hey, if you want out," he shrugged, pocketing the bars. "No," she said quickly. "Tomorrow's fine. Text me the address." That night, in her cramped walk-up overlooking a dumpster, Sophia couldn't sleep. The $400,000 wired to her account burned a hole in her phone screen. She transferred it to her business line, paid the overdue rent, ordered takeout sushi, the good kind with uni. For the first time in months, She felt invincible. Grandpa won't even miss them, she told herself, ignoring the twinge of guilt. It's just a loan. I'll pay him back double. The lab was a sterile box in Midtown. All white tile and humming fluorescence. Dr. Lena Voss. The assayer was a no-nonsense woman in her 50s. Her hair pulled into a severe bun. Glasses perched on a beak of a nose. Hawthorne bars, she said, scanning the manifest Sophia had forged on her laptop the night before a quick edit to an old family inventory. PDF, historical pieces. Will excerpt and drill test. Results in 2 hours. Sophia waited in the lobby, scrolling investor emails, her foot tapping in anxious rhythm. 2 hours stretched like taffy. When Lena emerged, her expression was granite. Miss Hawthorne, we have a problem. Sophia's stomach dropped. What? Are they counterfeit? Lena's lips thinned. Worse, the outer layer is gold-thin plating, coarse tungsten, high-grade fakes, but fakes nonetheless. Value? Scrap at best, maybe $5,000 per bar. The world tilted. Sophia's vision tunneled, the lab's hum roaring in her ears. That can't. My grandfather. Look, I don't care where they came from. Lena cut in. But Marcus Hale? He's no fool. He'll want his money back. With interest. And if it's theft, she trailed off, handing over a report stamped with the lab's seal. Sophia fled, the papers clutched like a death warrant. Back at the loft, Marcus was waiting, arms crossed, 2 burly associates flanking him like bookends. Word travels fast in this trade, he said, his smile gone feral. You tried to pawn junk on me? That's not how we do business. It was a mistake, Sophia stammered, backing toward the door. The bar's there from family. I didn't know. Save it. The advance. Do now, or we make a call. He nodded to one goon, who pulled out a phone, dialing with deliberate slowness. Panic clawed at her throat. Police? No, please. I can get real ones. Give me time. Marcus laughed, a bark without humor. Time's what you owe me. But hey, charity case 48 hours. After that, your pretty face on every fence's wall. He opened the door to 3 men. Marcus, sharp as a stiletto, and his enforcers, built like linebackers in ill-fitting suits. The night air carried their cologne, cheap and cloying. Mr. Hawthorne? Marcus stepped forward, peering past Elias. We're looking for your granddaughter. Osme. Elias blocked the threshold, his frame small but immovable. Does she now? And who might you be? Business associate. She sold me hot goods fakes. I want my money. Elias tilted his head, feigning confusion. Fakes? In my house? Sir, I keep only the finest. Perhaps you've mistaken. Marcus's eyes narrowed. Don't play dumb, old man. Sophia, get out here. From the kitchen shadows, Sophia watched, heart hammering. Call the police. She willed silently. But Elias did nothing, just stood there, a sentinel of silence. The larger enforcer pushed forward. Move, Gramps, or we'll... You'll what? Elias's voice was steel wrapped in velvet. Enter my home uninvited? Assault an elder? I think not. Marcus hesitated, glancing at his phone, likely the lab report. Or worse, a background check on Elias Hawthorne, the jeweler whose name still carried weight in certain circles. Whispers of connections, old war buddies in high places, lawyers who lunched with judges. Look, Marcus said, tone shifting to oily negotiation. We're reasonable. Have the advance back. We walk. Elias smiled faintly. Reasonable? For fakes you bought sight unseen? No, sir. You leave now, or I make a call of my own. The standoff stretched, seconds ticking like the grandfather clock. Finally, Marcus spat a curse, jerking his head. This ain't over, Hawthorne. They retreated to their black SUV, taillights fading into the night. Sophia emerged, shaking. Grandpa, why didn't you? Call who? He closed the door, bolting it with deliberate calm. The police? And explain what? Stolen fakes from a safe that holds nothing but air now? She gasped. But Marcus, he'll come back. Let him. Elias returned to the kitchen, pouring fresh tea as if nothing had transpired. Men like that thrive on noise. Deny them it, and they starve. In the days that followed, Silence became Elias's weapon. Sophia stayed at the house, too afraid to return to the city. Marcus's texts escalated threats, laced with emojis of knives and coffins, and abruptly stopped. Whispers reached her via a mutual contact. Hill had been picked up on an unrelated warrant. Something about laundering through a diamond scam. Coincidence? Elias said nothing, just tended his roses and read by the fire. Sophia unraveled in the quiet. She pored over the trust documents. Harold Jenkins delivered $5 million. Yes, but with stipulations. No withdrawals until milestones. A successful launch. Mentorship under a Hawthorne alum. Community service jewelry workshops for underprivileged kids. Echoing Elias's own start. Why the strings? She demanded one evening. Papers strewn across the dining table. Elias looked up from his pipe, smoke curling like ghosts. Because money without purpose is a curse. Your grandmother taught me that. She designed for joy, not just profit. Sophia traced a hawk crest on a sample contract, the metal embossed in foil. I wanted to be like her, but I got lost. We all do. He set the pipe aside. The question is, do you find your way back? Winter crept in, blanketing Willowbrook in snow that muffled the world. Sophia threw herself into work, not the flashy collection, but sketches inspired by the house. Heirloom motifs, sustainable alloys, pieces that told stories. She called investors, her pitch honed by necessity. Rejections stung, but fewer came. Elias watched from afar, offering no advice unless asked. His silence a mirror, forcing her to confront her reflection. One blizzard night, as winds howled against the panes, Sophia found the real ledger in the study, a leather tome chronicling the gold's journey. Smuggled from a Viennese vault in 44. Hidden in Margaret's hope chest during the crossing. Sold piecemeal in the 90s to weather Thomas's debts, then reinvested. The fakes? Crafted in 22, after her first suspicious visit. You planned for this, she whispered to the empty room. Elias entered, a shawl around his shoulders. Not for failure, for growth. She turned, tears freezing on her lashes. I sold you out. For what? A lie. He pulled her into an embrace, frail arms strong with forgiveness. You sold an illusion. The real legacy? It's here. He tapped her chest. And now, it's yours to guard. Spring thawed the silence. Sophia's collection debuted in a modest gallery. Gold accents forged from recycled Hawthorne scraps, real ones, acid and true. Critics murmured approval. Buyers trickled in. Marcus? A footnote. His operation shuttered by federal agents tipped off anonymously. Elias attended the show, perched in the front row, his cane a scepter. As models glided past in Hawthorne finery, he caught Sophia's eye across the room. She mouthed thank you, and he nodded. The sweetest revenge not in her fall, but her rise. In the years that followed, the Victorian house echoed with new life. Sophia married a quiet engineer named Liam, their daughter named Margaret toddling through the garden, chasing fireflies. Elias lived to 92, his final days spent at the workbench, teaching tiny hands the art of filigree. When he passed, peacefully in his sleep, the safe stood empty save for a single bar real gold, engraved, to the Hawthorns, carry the fire, not the weight. Silence speaks truest. Sophia kept it locked, a talisman. She never spoke of the lesson aloud, but in boardrooms and ateliers, her gaze held a quiet steel. Greed had come calling once. Silence had answered, and in that echo, the legacy endured not in bars of metal, but in the unyielding heart of a woman who had learned to forge her own.